Good morning, everybody. Good morning, my friends in Mauritius and also in Africa. And also specifically today, my friends, which I haven't seen for quite a number of months, in Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome, Roberto. How are you doing?
Good morning. Very good, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
So good to speak to you. Roberto, I mean, obviously you've been in hospitality for many years. You've been in multiple jurisdictions. I mean, in Africa, you're back in Kenya, I would say, back in Nairobi a year ago. But you've been in Kenya, but you've been in other places as well, Mozambique. And then prior to coming back to Kenya, you were in Asia, in China, Hong Kong, Macau, Shanghai, all the sort of fancy cities of the East, isn't it? So welcome back to mainland Africa. Roberto, I mean, obviously you got on the continent a year ago. You the cluster GM of a wonderful hotel in Nairobi, Kempinski. I've been there, stayed there, been to conferences. I think it's probably the most luxurious hotel in town in Nairobi, if I'm not mistaken. Roberto, I mean, so obviously you coming back a year ago, you never expected COVID-19, I'm sure, yeah? So tell me, first of all, give us an insight of what happened in terms of the lockdown, yeah? When was the lockdown done, and what did you do immediately in terms of your operation of your hotels, of your hotel, and also over the last couple of months, what's been happening?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Glad to be back in Africa. It's my third time in Africa. Before, as you know, I was in Mozambique, and many years ago I was in Kenya. When I arrived in Nairobi, the place is a beautiful hotel. It's the most representative hotel of the city, hosting most of the presidential delegation and the high-end corporate segment. When I arrived, Nairobi was buoyant, of course, was running very well. The hotel was at an average 65%, 67% occupancy with an EDR over $230. You know, we all was okay. And then I went in holiday in February in Oman, and I came back, and literally in 1 week, at the beginning of March, we have seen 90% of our booking on the book to be practically canceled. When the endemic has been escalated to pandemic by the World Health Organization, is when we realized the situation was very serious. In reality, personally, I thought already at the end of January, when I saw the communication coming from China. I know China quite well. I've been there 4 years. And I said, well, I think the situation is bigger than we think. And then when I saw a number of countries pulling down the lockdown, and what's happening in Italy, because in Italy, in a span of 2 weeks, we passed from a few cases to 1,000 deaths per day, really in 3 weeks, okay? Mm-hmm. So I realized that the situation was very serious. And sooner or later would have impacted Kenya, even though we didn't have any case in Kenya. Why? Because 80% of our market is international. Because, for example, if I see my market segmentation, or demographic segmentation, just 23% is domestic market, another 30% is regional, another 50% of what I do come from outside of Africa. So I soon realized that it doesn't matter if we have a case or not in Africa, in Kenya, we will be affected anyway. But I didn't realize it would happen so fast. So practically, when I arrived at the 1st of March, I was expecting the Prime Minister from Saudi Arabia delegation. We'd on the book 60% in March. In exactly 1 week, the occupancy ended to be 5%. So the first thing happened. As soon as we realized this, we realized that it was not a temporary, a volatile event. Okay.
And Roberto, that was before the lockdown, yeah? When it dropped down, that was before the lockdown.
Exactly. Immediately what we did, what any managing company does, we immediately put the people, we assessed the situation. Was the first week of March. We put most of the staff on leave, of course. And as soon as we started to understand how much was the impact on the quarter, not only on the current month. And we've seen on the quarter practically stopped the pace. The pace was not coming the typical pace. Normally, in normal circumstances, we have an average pace of $30,000 a day of new booking practically. We have seen this one becoming automatically nothing. So we saw that the behavior was not relating for weeks, but was relating to a longer period. So the second step was to shrink the operation, start to close down most of our restaurant, because we have a 3 restaurant plus another one 4, the specialty. So we start to keep only 1 restaurant and the all-day dining to condensate the operation. Because of course, the first thing you do in this situation is protect the job employment and cash flow, because cash flow, it allows you to run in this period. No, I want to do something in the bracket. You don't have a problem to go negative cash flow when you are positioning something. But when you are defending from a black swan event like this, go negative cash flow means burn oxygen for the future. So you have to really preserve cash flow, because that cash flow will allow you to resist it through a perfect storm, as I used to call. So go back, we closed the restaurant, most of the restaurant, we kept only open 1. And then we start to think about to open our safari camp, La Remara. Because of course, La Remara, which is a 12 tents in Masai Mara, is a luxury tent camp, is a 95% driven by international traffic. So there we see soon that the picking up, the pace of the booking for the immigration was a 0. So immediately we start to think and make all the process to close the camp. When the lockdown came, practically just 5 days later, we closed the camp. We are still in March. We closed the camp, and we put the Kempinski Villa Rosa in, we used to call safety mode. When the lockdown came, we closed the restaurant. We kept open only the hotels, the all-day dining, and the bar for the hotel guests. We never closed down. And soon after, we put most of the staff in 2 paid leave and 2 unpaid leaves. We have done all our town hall, discussing with the team. I have to say we are lucky, because our team is really a Kempinski ambassador. They are with the company since a long time. They love the owner, they love the company. They understood it was very important to protect the business identity in the first instance. So all of us, we took the tough call, and we took 2 weeks of unpaid leaves, which means cut the salary 50%.
Just remind us.
In-house we had for the...
How many rooms do you have, and how many staff, more or less?
We have 200 rooms in the Villa Rosa in Nairobi and 12 tents in La Remara. We had 330 employees with outsourced 400 in Villa Rosa in the good old days, and 50 in La Remara. Okay. So what we did, we put the people in 2 weeks leave, 2 weeks unpaid leave. For the entire month of April, we had only 1 guest in-house, which is still a guest in-house, because he's the top consultant of McKinsey. Rather than rent an apartment, is an in-house guest. She arrived on the 27th of March, and in April was the only guest in-house. So we put all the staff practically home. We just kept a few people, and we were operating just keeping the door open. As many other hotels were locking down, closing down the hotel. Most of the hotel in Nairobi closed down that period. Everyone closed down. The owner didn't want to close down. He said, if we close the door of Kempinski, we switch off the light on Nairobi. We cannot close down this hotel. So we kept open, spa closed, gym closed, because government, of course, put regulation on that. Restaurant closed. There was only open the rooms, 1 bar, and the all-day dining for the hotel guests. This went on for all month of April, and all month of May. Then, of course, government take out the COVID protocol to reopen the restaurant. We applied for the protocol, we tested the staff, we did all the various implementation, and we had our Italian restaurant open at the beginning of June. In the meantime, we realized that this event is not a quarterly event, but might be, it will take more than 1 year and a half to go back to the previous occupancy. So we have done a scenario where next year we think we will do around 25-30% of the occupancy at the best.
For the whole year, for the whole of 2021?
Yes. This is my assessment for Nairobi. 30%.
25% occupancy.
25-30%. This is what we are planning. We are foresee for the next year.
Compared to last year, what was the market doing?
65. 66.
So that's a third. Okay, half to a third.
And I'm being optimistic. In the best case. This is the best case. And I'll explain later from my point of view why these are the numbers. because the 80% of international traffic is the major driver, which will not be there for long. Plus, domestic market is not big as it is, as we think. The domestic market is there, but not big enough to feed the entire supply chain. Okay. Now, we go back to the discussion. We assessed the situation. We have seen that, of course, in such condition, we have to record a lot of negative cash flow for many months. And of course, we decided with the board to apply a strategic redundancy. Now, all the hotelier shut down in the meantime are all closed. I make all the staff redundant. Very few kept the staff. We decided to make redundant 27% of our manning. We spoke with the staff. We say this is strategic redundancy. We became smaller to become stronger enough to go through the storm. And then when things will come back, we will take back our people. Now, we are not happy to release people because even Villa Rosa is special because the people are special and we spend years training our people. People knowledge costs money. Company invested a lot of money in building this unique IP. But of course, this is necessary to keep the hotel floating and to run the operation. In this moment, we have the spa open, the gym open, one restaurant open, the room service open, and we have our 15% of occupancy, no? Something like 25 rooms, 30 rooms per day, which was not even thinkable in April when we had only one rooms.
So now, is it just one floor or two floors that are open?
No, we open 3 floors because of course we have a different category, okay? We have a people booking suite because we have a business community coming from abroad. We had a group of Israeli investors here in the last week. They took 4 rooms for 10 days and they will come back next month, of course. And they look for places with the safety, with the protocol, with the service, of course, and with the quality, of course. And this is what we believe. We believe that it continues to stay open, continue to do our job, making healthy the cluster, the system, and is the only way to resist it to the future. Ola Remara, we reopened in the middle of July, the camp, is running pretty well because in this moment there is a lot of people in holiday that, of course, they are enjoying the migration period. Said that, there has to be one, let's say, note that this year the rate of social immigration are very low because all the camp, of course, witnessed the problem. So many people as an opportunity, one-time opportunity. Normally, in this period, we charge $1,300 per tent per day. Currently, for the domestic market, we are charging $500. So there's a lot of domestic market going to Mara to visit and get the immigration because it's a unique opportunity to have a such rate in a certain way.
So I would assume, Roberto, if I may, when you talk about this domestic market, are these, what you're seeing, are these people who obviously haven't been able to go overseas on holiday? So they still got disposable income.
There's still people, this is the affluent class, but also the middle class, family segment, which they have a disposable income. This is a holiday period, right? They cannot go Mauritius, Dubai, or Thailand, or whatever it is. And they are enjoying some location in Nairobi or in Kenya. I have to say that for Villa Rosa, we have a very good staycation because, of course, after many months of lockdown, people get tired and maybe they want to spend 1 or 2 nights. And so this is the situation. Is it enough to make the tourism sector survive? Yes and no. No, because it's not big enough, the domestic market, to feed the supply chain. No, because most of the supply chain, most of the domestic market, the household don't have such disposable income to feed this kind of, let's say, unnecessary expenses. Because, every sector has been touched, not only tourism, aviation, every sector. So everyone had a salary cut or, let's say, lost the job. This affect the consumption behavior, of course. Yes, for the hotel are able to lower the expenses and they have a good financial muscle. Some hotelier prefer shut down because think they are saving money. It's not true. When you have an asset with a valuation of 30, 40, $50 million, and you close down, you need to keep a maintenance anyway because you have to keep the asset updated. You have to run all the air condition, water. You cannot abandon the building. You need to keep a security. the difference of expenses to opening a minimum level and keeping closed is really minimal. But if you keep close and you don't do the proper maintenance, the proper security in place, when you have to reopen, you will see so degraded your asset that will cost a lot of money to bring back at the previous level. So we don't trust in the fact to close down. We trust in making the business model feasible. How much margin still we have to compress this business model? Someone is much more dynamic, someone is much less dynamic, someone has much higher fixed cost, someone has lower fixed cost. And then depend on the shareholding company, how much strong they are. If the view we take as hotelier is that the future will come back in Nairobi, at the end is the most important East African location, logistically, financially, for the IT impact. So if we take that approach, it's worth it to stay in the tourism hospitality, of course. Those assets which are already worn out, they are already degraded in the physical appearance, and they lost through the years already the market, let's say, visibility, that most likely they will go out of the market because, of course, they are already closed down. When the market will come back, they have to do so many investments which the rate do not support in that sense. So it's a moment where we have to do the proper strategic decision to stay on the market now, to be prepared for the future.
And Roberto, I mean, the airport has been open to international flights a couple of weeks ago. What kind of protocols do we have in terms of international travelers coming in? Are they open to all countries or specific countries, and then protocols at the airport? And then what about you at the hotel? What protocols have you instilled in your hotels? Yeah.
Okay, the international airport adopt a protocol, of course, disseminated by the World Health Organization. There are 40 countries which they have the right to arrive if they show the COVID taken in within 48, 72 hours. Yeah. Exactly. They will not be subject to quarantine. So those countries, mostly European, United States, except 3 states, China, some Asian countries, some key countries. Let's say the 40 countries in the list are normally the country feed Kenya. Okay. As hotel, we adopted the protocol of the Ministry of Health plus the Kempinski white gloves protocol. Sanitation point, temperature screening in various. All the protocol is there. Now, how this is impacting positively the demand? The airport has been open on the 4th of August. And the first thing we are doing, we are monitoring how much the booking pace is becoming longer. So this is the pipeline, no? The booking pipeline. If we see people start to book November, October, December, we start to see the pipeline extending. For time being, we are just seeing people booking for the same week. But it's too early to say. In the middle of September, we will reassess the situation, and we see that the airport, reopening of the airport is impacting positively in the business flow. Because only the pipeline, when the booking on the book start to extend through the next 3 months, you see that the business trend is building back again. At the moment, it's just on the same week, on the same, of course, month. We have to say something. In this moment, there is one market which is crucial for corporate segment, which has not yet opened the border, which is South Africa. When you talk about corporate, whatever is the entity, which is in New York, London, or Frankfurt, when you come Africa, the headquarters is in Johannesburg, normally. And when you deal with those accounts, is Johannesburg people, South African people, feeding all the hotels. It happened in Tanzania, in Nigeria. We have the same. We have our hotel in Accra has the same corporate account in South Africa than us.
True.
Exactly the same because it's South Africa. So until South Africa doesn't open, we will not see great pickup in the corporate segment. Today, I saw in my hotel, we have on the book this month a meeting with the Renaissance Capital, which is one important private equity fund, which is focused on Africa, which is good because it means the private equity, again, is coming on the market. It's a good sign, of course, okay? even because money never sleep, plus never been a opportunity moment like this to buy assets because the price is going down, of course. So there might be some activities on that side. But still it's too early to say. Still it's too early to say. This is the reason I think we will not see a great pickup in the occupancy for the entire 2021. 2021, even we assume the Nike's wash curve is the model of recovery, this curve is very, very soft, very, very, very slowly picking up. It's not, there's
so
no
it's pretty flattish then. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Because even though the consumption in the various developed economy will be V-shaped, because of course what's happened? 1 billion people stop to pick up the car, stop to go out for food, stop to do anything. So of course the GDP went down. As soon as they start to again to pick up the car, to go to work, to have a trip or to do anything, some numbers will start to go up. But this has nothing to do with the consumer behavior when it comes to travel around the world. But the corporate companies, of course, will be very cautious before to send their own people around the world for many reasons. Implication with the insurance. Hypothetically, any corporate executive can refuse to travel for the possibility to be exposed to, of course. So, and Zoom is, of course, in a certain way, is coming on board to make some process by video non-traveling. So the corporate segment will take time. If somebody was doing 20 trips per year, now we will do 5, 6, the essential one, just because it has to be there.
But typically, Roberto, if I may, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. If I may, if you look at Nairobi, obviously, you know, it's the city, the main city in East Africa, a lot of businesses. So that's predominantly driven by corporate businesses here, as opposed to pure leisure. Obviously, you've got leisure that transits through Nairobi.
Leisure is only transit. Leisure is only transit. Or someone coming in Kenya, spend 1 or 2 nights in Nairobi, going to visit Nairobi. But it's a corporate segment. Majorly a corporate segment driven by 3 major, let's say, routes. One is a typical business, one is diplomacy, and the other one is relating to big conferences, okay, MICE. So MICE will take time to come. Delegation in this moment, visit of president are not seen so imminent. Remain the business segment because, of course, it's the one has a more motivation to travel, but will take time. Absolutely.
So as we speak today, I mean, there are quite a lot of hotels in Nairobi. I mean, you know, I'm thinking about the Intercon, the Radissons, the Park Inns, the Sankara. I mean, there are many, many hotels. I mean, just if you've got any sort of, how many rooms would you have in Nairobi, total hotels? Would you say more or less?
I cannot respond. I cannot respond on that. Many thousand for sure.
Thousands, yeah.
In many thousand. In my segment, we have something like that we consider a competitor around 2,000, 2,500 rooms, more or less.
Okay.
Including Intercont, including Radisson, the 2 Radisson, which are beautiful hotel, including the Dusit with the closed down, the Norfolk, the Sankara. Let's say 2,000 room in my segment, which I see as my competitive arena in a certain way.
Yeah. And I would assume there were other hotels under construction or under development in Nairobi. Yep. I mean, the construction industry was always bustling.
There's some hotel in construction because, of course, is expected to come an Hyatt, is expected to come another Hilton. There was expecting to open Pullman, which is 300 rooms. There was another, let's say, 1,000, 1,500 rooms on the corporate segment. Between a 4 and 5 star coming on the market. There is a Marriott, which is my neighbor, of course, JW Marriott, post 2022-23. There are many rooms coming on the market. In this moment, the major concern are not these rooms. In this moment, the major concern for me to see as hotelier for my future career as a businessman, how the tourism industry will come back. An industry of 9 trillion around the world, how will come back? How these black Black Swan event, the biggest disruptor we ever experienced since the Second War. We never had something like this, okay? How this will change human behavior. Because you see in this moment, 40 million Italians drive by car, in 2 hours, they are on the beach.
Yeah.
Europe, they have everything they want. Will finish the wishes to travel? For me, no. And I recall Christian said a statement, the CEO of Hilton, people will not spend their life in Zoom. People want to live, want to see paradise, want to explore. This will come back. This is not an issue. How long? That is the question. Corporate segment is totally different because we know, both of us, that there was already some factor disrupting the current business model. There was the advent of digitalization, the artificial intelligence. This was already talk and discussion 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This event is accelerating all this implementation. We know that every time there is a disruptor, is accelerate some underlying innovation. Because of course, the public became much more welcome and open to change the way it behave, to change the way it does a business. And so it facilitates, example, the advent of some digital process, some artificial intelligent implementation. Maybe the consumer journey will change a bit. We don't know yet. Maybe we're not so radical, but there will be some changes. As hotelier, you have to switch on to understand where to go.
So do you preempt, for example, I mean, you who've spent quite a number of years in the East, in China, for example, I remember a couple of years ago, they were talking about robotization of a lot of processes in the hotels. So, for example, at the reception, contactless payment, even ordering your food, room service, etc. What do you think would be tangible? Do you see practical and tangible, knowing obviously we don't have the same terrain as in Asia, but knowing Africa, what do you think would be practical in terms of proper change, like real change, which maybe we didn't think about a year ago, or maybe we did, but we never thought it would be in practice so soon?
Well, I was in China when I saw in Guangzhou the presentation of the robot hotel by Alibaba, make the first project. Because Alibaba has a headquarters in Guangzhou. But the Chinese, they have a part of their life already digitalized. They do the tickets online. They to pick up the tickets at the one machine at the airport. They buy paying a mobile payment. They go to McDonald's. They don't go at the teller, but the digit on the screen what they want is already in their behavior, daily behavior. They have already a lot of process to be, let's say, digitalized. So the Chinese market will be very, very ready to this, even because the average length of stay is very short. Corporate is 1 day, and domestic leisure is 1.3. So for them is hand luggage, no checking in, low cost company, everything is condensated, everything is fast. For them is okay.
It's volume in and out, yeah.
Exactly, finish. About Africa. I would say there will be, of course, some beautiful 3-star hotels, brand, very compact, efficient, which will need the minimal human interaction. Okay, what you want a beautiful room, you want a special room, clean, good bathroom, internet, television, pay by credit card, you do your things in a certain way. If you remember in France, there was that concept of a car, Formula One. Okay, you take the Formula One, you put some service. So that one was a 1-2 star because it was people less. We do 1-2 service, and you have maybe that's 1 or 2 people at the breakfast. So that's it. For 3-star segment, no discussion on that. With a lot of security, of course, because security is something in Africa you have to implement. 4-star segment, I think they have to decide what we want to be. In this moment, there are no meat, no fish. Or they are happy scale, like some beautiful Radisson in Africa example. We have a 2-year in Nairobi, really nice. All they are brand which in reality they are not making a difference. You know what I mean? Because today, as a corporate traveler, or I want the 5-star, or I want the compact hotel, or I need one or another one. I don't need something in the middle. No. So there is some rooms for digitalization and people contactless, because of course COVID is pushing more in that direction. but it will not be so drastic. That will be serious.
So Roberto, I mean, if you look at, for example, you're part of an international brand, so obviously you've got certain things which are designed by the head office, safety protocols and health, etc. Do you think going forward, customers and guests would be more reliant on international brands because that would assume a certain quality of safety standards? Yep. And give us an insight of, from Kempinski point of view, for example, what support have you got from head office in terms of safety protocols? And then also, how much customization are you doing for the local market?
Well, of course, the domestic or international traveler, of course, they will definitely rely on international brand. Number one, for the ability to deliver the highest and the most updated standard according to the World Health Organization. And number two, because the international brand will be very careful for the eventual impact if some of those protocols are not in place. Because COVID, of course, has a kind of public adherence when it comes comments and sensitiveness that the brand knows exactly that is one of the priority, COVID protocol compliance. In regarding to us, Kempinski support us with the white gloves protocol, which was the first brand to issue this kind of protocol. What is it? It's about to say, okay, we're in compliance with the COVID protocol, but we will make in a way that the luxury touch will not be missed. Because of course, there are many implementations which are touching what used to be the conventional wisdom when it comes to luxury. For example, all the collateral in the room disappear completely. So the guests can let's say, check on the television, the interactive television, all the information about what normally used to be in the directory, including the food menu. But example, we don't have in a room the letterhead at the envelope because there is an advice in the room that you need to support. We call the concierge, we deliver in the room letterhead and envelope in a sealed plastic bag, so in a way that the customer can write. We don't have a notepad anymore close to the telephone because, of course, everything is paper is highly, let's say, difficult to hygienize. Because, of course, we sanitize the room, but sanitize the paper is not so simple. There are many things we implemented, of course. There is a lot of sanitation point around the hotel. There's a limit of the people going to the elevator, which, of course, is my impact and create a queue at the elevator point. But, of course, the customer nowadays is very willing to accept this one because safety comes first. So Kempinski helped us not only providing the standard, but also providing the training model, training our staff to adhere, to help the client to have the best experience despite all this protocol in place. In terms of customization, yes, of course, we customize, of course, because, example, in Mara, which is a very bush experience, and you cannot sanitize the bush, of course, but you can take some preventive measure, of course, to helping the client to be safe as possible, of course. So, of course, in that case, we have to customize, of course, because it helps, to keep the protocol, the integrity of the protocol, of course. Depends, let's say. In a corporate hotel, it's much more easier, like is Villa Rosa. So we do as per standard. While in Mara, we tend to be much more, let's say, customer design experience. And we don't want to spoil the customer experience. But at the same time, we want to deliver the protocol. One of example of the issues is, when you have the game drive, we have all our cars ready. So you have to limit the number of people inside of the cars. You have try to keep the same group of family because, of course, you have to keep the distancing. Of course, you have to go to do all of this. But you are there in the bush, you have to stay on the car because besides the park, national park, let's say, rules do not go out of the car is also for the safety of the guests. So they have to stay on board. And to stay on board, of course, the physical distancing, if they don't belong to the same group, can be an issue. So you have to try to make a car according to the group, the families, in a certain way. So there are many aspects you have to look at, of course.
And from a let's take your Kempinski in Nairobi from a F&B perspective. Are you still doing buffet, or is it menu a la carte, or what have you changed?
No, we don't do self-service buffet. We do buffet showcase, but there is a waiter taking the order and serving at the table. So we make the cooking live station, of course, because it helps with the distance because there is a barrier. It helps to improve the experience, seeing the food, but there will be a waiter to serve at the table. This is according to the protocol. according to the Ministry of Health protocol and Kempinski protocol as well. The distancing is observed because we have the inspection to have a license. The license is renewable every 3 months. So we have the inspector coming and checking if all the various, let's say, provision are in place. But we don't have a problem for the distancing because Villa Rosa Kempinski has a plenty space, of course.
And wearing mask, is that compulsory?
Yes, wearing mask is compulsory from all the staff and all the client. Clients, of course, remove when they are eating. Staff has a mask and gloves. Now, the gloves policy is quite, let's say, disputed for World Health Organization in some countries because, say, the ability you have to sanitize your hands so often, when it comes to gloves, you have to remove continuously the gloves. So when we use the gloves we use when we clean, for example, no? To protect our team, of course, right?
Sure.
Because protect your staff is important as protect the customer, of course. But when we serve, we ask the customer if they want to serve with the gloves or without gloves, because many customers says, I'm more confident that you serve me with your hands because you can sanitize any of the sanitation point in the restaurant, then you serve me with the gloves. They hypothetically should change every time you do it. So in fact, this is one of the disputable points that the World Health Organization raised up in some country is advising differently. But other than that, there is a physical distancing. A restaurant used to contain 80 people, now we just seat to 40 people. But we are not suffering because we have plenty F&B spaces that we can use it. Lobby is so big, is so spacious, then of course allow us to maintain the distancing. We have a garden, so we have a lot of meeting in the garden. Open air. Our meeting incentive rooms, which normally before was for 150 people, we used for 50. But what we did, we partnered with a lot of outdoor facilities in Nairobi, which can help us for social gathering and conferences. Because open air is seen as an healthier environment. Now, Nairobi is also amicable location. Why? Because in reality, 10 months a year, you can stay outdoor because weather is fantastic. So it's not complicated to do. But there is a new meeting mice trend, which is to host the key 20, 30 people, which is the panelists and some journalists, and the rest is the digital conferencing, which nowadays will be the way to go, practically. In the future, most likely, the business will be, I will do a huge event in that convention center where I host the top 20 panelists, the top 50 journalists, and opinion leader. Those people maintain the distancing, and the rest of 300 attendees will be Zoom connected or Go Meeting connected, which they pay the fee to attend it. They can make their own questions. This is the way the mice will go in the future for sure. It will be digital conferencing, which is not bad at all, I have to say. So there is all this implementation which will come out slowly.
Absolutely, Roberto. Thanks for your insight. Great insight about what's been happening during the lockdown. Interesting what you said. Your hotel was open for one guest, so that person must have been really sort of valued, like royalty. A whole hotel just for one person. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And obviously, your perspective of the future is it's going to be a slow recovery. Next year, you've talked about potentially 30% occupancy for 2021. So that gives us a perspective of half of the business, at least minimum half of the business of the previous year. You've talked about the pipeline in terms of number of hotels coming to play, and also what's going to be happening to some of the hotels that have closed down, and probably they will remain closed down for much longer because there's no business for everybody at the beginning of this recovery. At least you kept your hotel open, so it's almost like a car. So you didn't stop the car and put it in the garage. So you basically slowed it down to 5 kilometers an hour, and your cruising speed is not going to be 120, it might be 60 for quite a while. Yeah. Roberto, great having you. Fantastic exposure, and I'm looking forward to my next trip to Nairobi. So I haven't been for almost 7 months or 8 months or so. So my next trip I'm looking forward to coming to your hotel, yeah, at the Kempinski.
Absolutely. Also because it's a time we met personally. We are friends in years.
Absolutely.
We exchange ideas and comments in LinkedIn, but we never met personally. It's the time. Just drop me an email. You will be hosting by me. Okay.
Well, the good thing is we were slightly ahead of many in terms of the new normal, which is operating in the virtual world. Yeah. So we've been doing that.
Always.
And eventually we'll meet face to face.
In many topics, from hospitality, economics, monetarism, interest rates, all of these things.
Absolutely. Roberto, thanks a lot, and
have
keep
a great
safe,
day,
keep well, and all the best.
You too.
Take care.
Oh, you
Thank
too.
you.
All the best. Bye.